My name is Lauren Hollows for NOI Education Services, and today we are starting a new series which is called Working in the Wild. So as many of you know, we run NOI up from the road. We have now been on the road for about 14 or 15 months, working and homeschooling and doing all of those fun things. There are 4 of us in my household. We have got myself, my husband, and we've got 2 boys at 10 and 16. So this series is going to be talking all about how we go about working from the road for families who are interested in doing this sort of thing, or for people who are thinking about running their own businesses from the road. So I guess there is a lot involved in running a business from the road, but certainly post-COVID, a lot more opportunities have opened up for families to be able to do this sort of thing. And I guess there's 3 questions that you really need to ask yourself if you're going to be thinking about running businesses from the road. So the first one is it a good fit for my family? It does change substantially how your family is going to operate as a unit. There's a lot of really huge positives to that. So for me, it does mean that I get to spend a lot more time with my kids, in particular with my husband. My husband was FIFO before this. So obviously we've gone from maybe spending an hour or 2 a day together to spending all of our time together. Now that comes with it comes with pros and it comes with cons. So it's something that you really got to decide as to whether or not it's going to be the right fit for your family. I know that for me, I was working so much beforehand that my kids were getting I felt my kids were getting the worst part of me. They were getting me at the end of the day when I was tired, when I still had to think about cleaning the house and cooking dinner and doing all of these things. And so I just felt that they got the worst part of me. I, in turn, probably got the worst part of them. I got them once they'd come home from school, they were tired. They just really wanted to veg. So we didn't really get a lot of quality time with each other. And certainly over the last 18 months, my relationship with my kids, was already pretty good, but I would definitely say it's gotten better. We learn a lot more about each other and from their perspective. And when we get into the whole homeschooling discussion, that part I would not change for the world. I think that's been the best possible thing for them under the sun. But it does have to be the right fit for your family. So, you've got to think about what are the ages of your kids? What's your capacity to be able to, educate them, to give them opportunities to still maintain relationship with their friends. My husband and I talked about this a long time. We knew it was kind of going to be one of those make or break things. So we'd gone from, as I said, he was FIFO. We saw each other for an hour a day on the weeks that he was back. To literally being in a 20-foot box together 24 hours a day kind of thing. So, for us, that's worked out really well. But I definitely think it's something that you need to consider before you start, when you start to look endeavoring this. And we trialed kind of working from the road before we did this. So we took a month trip. We took a week trip. We took so we took a couple of trips where we would go away for a week or 2 weeks, or I think we did a month at one point, so that we could see all of the challenges that was going to bring for working on the road. One of the game changers, obviously, for me is we have to be connected to internet. I think at one point we did not have our Starlink, and we had to drive 2 hours so that I could run payroll for that week. So having really good internet connectivity, and obviously for us that's been Starlink, and that would be the one that I would recommend to anyone around Australia at this point in time, is probably going to be crucial, because if it is something that you're going to do and you are going to be working from the road, then you need to know that when you need to work, you can access that at the right time. So I guess that's the first question is it the right fit for your family? And I do recommend doing trials if it's something that you're going to think about doing. Is it a good fit for the business? So obviously, depending on the business that you're looking at, if you've got an RTO, this would be a lot more difficult. Depending on most RTOs have got a physical presence somewhere. So I think that that is, if you have a physical presence somewhere, it's a lot more difficult to run that sort of a remote business. If you're working for an RTO and you're doing like administration work, there is a lot of that can be done online nowadays, especially if you're working with like systems like student management systems. And I strongly recommend RTOs to provide opportunities for staff to be able to, you know, have a flexibility in a work from home arrangement where some of that work can be done. So like if trainers can be doing their online marketing from home, allowing them to do that. If admin can be doing some of the, you know, state funding reporting or checking of data, or, you know, that sort of stuff, that if that can be done from home, I really do recommend that, you know, RTOs at least provide some sort of a balance. I think requiring everything to be done in the workplace is really challenging for a vast majority of people. And I think that if you demonstrate a capacity to be able to work remotely and still achieve all of your outcomes, and obviously that's going to be the key to it all, is whether or not you can still be productive in that environment, then, you know, I think it's important for RTOs to get to have the right opportunities. The third big question for me is that when you're building staff to work remotely, and as I said, NOI, our entire staff work from home. I've got one staff at the moment who's visiting his mother over in India. He's continuing to work. You know, like we've got staff that, you know, like they do travel on a regular basis, but they all still work in their own ways. I think it's important to have discussions with staff in relationship to you know, is working remotely right for you? So it does take a very particular type of person. We've definitely had people within the organization that were not, it was not the right fit for them to be working from home. And there can be a whole range of reasons for that. Like, you know, we've got staff that have got very young children, and sometimes that's worked and sometimes that hasn't, because, you know, it's you have to have it be a right fit for your family as well. So, you know, if you like, there are times like I'm doing right now where, you know, everyone knows that I'm recording, or I've got a really important meeting, and so they need to either not be here or they need to be very quiet, not moving around. So, you know, if I had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, it probably wouldn't be possible for us to be doing what we're doing at the moment. My kids are very independent, they're autonomous, they, you know, they behave really well. And so because of that, I can do what I do. And when I say I need to work, they have a really solid understanding that like that's time when they need to be doing their own thing. So I think it is important to like look again, this goes back to like looking at the needs of your family, looking at your family structure and your setup as to whether or not this is something that is going to be a good fit for you. So some of the challenges of obviously working from the road involve things like internet connectivity. We've resolved that by getting a Starlink. That's definitely like our number one. We've gone through, I think, 3 different caravans at this point in time, finding one that's actually going to work for us that we can live in and work in. And obviously, you know, when you've basically got 3 adults and, you know, a 10-year-old, there's a space component that you've got to think about. Positives of working from the road, and I guess probably this is something where I would be saying to 90% of people, if you can organize to do this even for a month at some point, do it. Like 100% do it. Mainly because I don't think most people have a concept of how much there is in Australia. This is an absolutely incredible country. There are so many beautiful places. There's, you know, we have rainforests, we have deserts, we have, you know, these incredible cities. There's so many amazing museums. If you have an opportunity to let your kids experience the difference between cities and countries, you know, like regional and rural areas, to, you know, see the expanse of what is available within this incredible country, it's a wonderful opportunity for them. I traveled a huge amount when I was a kid. I got dragged from country to country. It's definitely formed my experience. It's made me really appreciative of everything that we have here in Australia, and also, you know, just very aware of just the beauty that comes with being able to interact with so many different kinds of people. I think it makes you a lot more tolerant and a lot more empathetic and understanding of like just the challenges that everybody faces in based on the part of the country that they're in. Regional Australia is very, very different. It's still a very tough place. I think we were up in Cape York last week, and you know, we paid $15 for milk and wheat bix. So you know, there's financial challenges up there. We had to provide first aid to a child one night because there was literally nothing else around. So thankfully, you know, we always travel really well prepared. I've done multiple advanced first aid courses, so we were able to help out there. You know, we had people that got stranded on the side of the road. So again, we dragged out the Starlink to help them connect so that they could get a tow truck out to where they were. And I think that it was going to be like it was like a day and a half wait to get a tow truck to where they were. So there's so many challenges that people in regional areas face that I think it's really important for Australians, particularly those who live in cities, to understand the challenges that are still, out in the remote outback of Australia, but also just the beauty that is in some of these, inherent in a lot of these places as well. The simplicity of literally just sitting in nature and not having, you don't have your phone with you, you've got no connectivity. Being able to disconnect from things is really important for people in this day and age as well. So huge benefits. Definitely really important that I think that trialing process is absolutely crucial if you're considering running a business from the road. I guess the last point is that I think a lot of people underestimate the challenges of running your own business. So if your plan is like to just run like yourselves as a business, that's not too bad. But if you're not somebody that can thrive in high stress situations, it's definitely something that you really need to think about as to like maybe a better way to run a business from the road is actually to kind of find a job that you can travel from the road with. And obviously there are lots more of those jobs out there now. If you watch a whole bunch of the different YouTube families, they kind of show you all of the different ways that you can earn income from the road. And there's also a lot of people like tradies in particular, where as you're going around, there's plenty of opportunity for work, particularly in regional Australia. We still have a massive deficit in relationship to skills throughout a lot of the areas of regional Australia, in like construction and civil construction and hospitality, retail. There's still huge opportunities for those that are looking for work in any of these areas. So that's something to consider as well. If you're happy to like go somewhere and live in an area for 3 or 4 months and stop and work there and build up and then travel to the next area, that's definitely something that's very, very doable from the road. If you guys have got any questions about this, please drop them below. We are also going to be covering how we homeschool and what an average day and week kind of looks like when you're working and traveling and homeschooling from the road. If you've got any other questions in and around this, by all means drop them below and I'm more than happy to answer them or to run out a whole other video. Thanks very much, guys. My name is Lauren Hollows for NOI Education Services.